Hot off the heels of the PlayStation 5 Pro falling completely flat with gamers, we have some information about the PlayStation 6, because why not add yet another console into a race of consoles that people are saying, why can't we just get some games for these? What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And yeah, AMD has secured a contract to create the system on chip for PlayStation 6. According to Reuters, this console is going to be starting production eventually, and they're laying the groundwork right now for it and getting the contracts all sorted out and making sure that the PlayStation 6 comes to fruition in a store near you. And one of the main focal points of the PlayStation 6 is backwards compatibility. Can Sony make up their mind on what they want to do? Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full exhaustive article breaking down all the information. First broke the news with Reuters and all the information they gave out here with how Sony has contracted AMD as the same company that they had for the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro. They have signed them again now to work on the PlayStation 6. And yeah, not a big deal, not a big surprise. It makes the most sense, but there were other companies like Broadcom and Intel trying to get in there and get that business, but AMD won out. They said the reason why is because they're already familiar with how all this works and the same ecosystem and environment, and it would just make sense, especially because Sony wants to focus the PlayStation 6 on backwards compatibility. Now, far be it for me to say this, but isn't that what the PlayStation 5 Pro is supposedly doing anyways, at least when it comes to playing PlayStation 5 games, upscaled and higher FPS? Why do we need a PlayStation 6 again? Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't keep pushing technology forward and making better consoles and pushing the bar as far as we can for gaming to keep progressing and being better. I'm not against that. All I'm saying is I feel like at this point in time, we've reached a peak of where the graphics and frames per second and processing power can all get to. And it feels like, especially Sony, but Microsoft to a lesser extent, are pushing the bar over and over and over again. And the results are fairly similar to what we already have. It's not like this giant leap forward in technology like it was with the NES to the Super Nintendo, or even the Super Nintendo to the PlayStation 1, or even N64 if you want to stay in that same family, or even the PS1 to PS2, or the PS2 to PS3. And yeah, I might even give you the PS3 to the PS4. But then you get to the PS4 to the PS5 and I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I kind of see some marginal shadow differences and ray tracing, as they always say, but it's like, you don't really notice too much of it. It does look marginally better, not gonna lie, it is better. But at what cost? An entirely new console, an entirely new ecosystem, entirely new games that you need to rebuy all over again because they're not going to make original games, just to say, hey, I'm playing this on the latest technology. And look, you can see an extra strand of hair on this person. Isn't it awesome? But before I even get too far into that, let's talk about what Reuters reported from Sony regarding the decision and how it was influenced specifically because they wanted a seamless transition for gamers, allowing them to continue enjoying their PS5 games on a new system. Because you can't already just enjoy your PS5 games on your PS5. You need to buy an entirely new system that can process them better, apparently, and replay them again on that system. I mean, are we sensing a theme here and a problem? And ironically, this is coming on the heels of the PlayStation 5 Pro announcement where I had the same exact complaints. I'm like, what are we even doing here? If the game that's being created is not justifiable to go on next generation hardware, why are you doing it? Just make the game for the current hardware. If you want to make a next gen leap and you want to make a game that's so spectacular, so big, so insanely incredibly expensive to create to make sure it goes on that next generation console, then do it. But the problem is, no one wants to take that risk. The primary concern with Sony appears to be maintaining backwards compatibility without incurring insane costs or diverting too many engineering resources for that part of the project. And transitioning from AMD to one of those different suppliers like Intel or Broadcom that I mentioned earlier would have risked some compatibility issues and most likely would have required a significant effort to overcome any unexpected technical hurdles. Which is a good thing because it has has to be backwards compatible. Could you imagine if Sony came out with a PlayStation 6 and it's like, yep, not backwards compatible with the PS5. Here's a remaster of Last of Us Part 1 and 2 again that you need to buy again, and you can see more strands of hair on the people and more pieces of grass on the ground that you already see plenty of in the previous iterations of it. It has to be backwards compatible. That's the thing. It's almost like we've reached a point in technology where it's gone so far that we're like Jack on the Island. We have to go back. Add to that concerns are also growing that the PlayStation 6 could launch at a $700 price point, similar to the PS5 Pro. Paul Tassi of Forbes suggests that a $600 minimum price seems inevitable, but upwards of $700 or more is not out of the question, and he brought up several reasons as to why. The biggest being obviously inflation-adjusted cost of production, and Sony's willingness to maintain a higher price due to less competition from Xbox. And it's a trend of increasing prices with these consoles with each iteration. But here's the biggest thing that Paul doesn't talk about in his Forbes article and that no one seems to be mentioning with the price increases on this hardware that Sony and Microsoft are selling people. It's coming with less and less hardware. Like, look at the PlayStation 5 Pro, for example. People are like, oh my God, it's so expensive. It's like, oh, it's only $100 more than the PS5. It's like, yeah, it also doesn't have a disk drive, okay? That's kind of a big deal. It's missing the disk drive, it costs more, and you get less. It's not the best buying proposition. With the console potentially aimed at a release around 2028, it seems like Sony is pushing the price higher than ever before, continuing a strategy of premium pricing amidst market dominance, when all the while, gamers that care for these types of experiences will more often than not be migrating to PC instead. And it's something I said on Twitter the other day where I don't think Sony even understands what they're doing right now. They're taking features and hardware away from the latest console and thinking people are just going to fork more money over for the less of what they used to get, when you can get a better experience with basically the same hardware with a PC. And if you want to upgrade your PC in the future, you get a new graphics card. And that's literally all you got to do. And oh, by the way, online is free and it has all these games from different ecosystems. It's not strictly just into Sony. There's a million other things you could say along with why PC is better than console. And I don't think Sony really understands this. Either that or they're just willfully ignorant to the reality. And that in itself is an even bigger issue. Per Reuters, Intel had reportedly engaged in extensive discussions with Sony throughout 2022, including high-level meetings involving CEOs, engineers, executives from both companies. But a wide disagreement over Intel's profit share from each chip sold ultimately stalled those negotiations, preventing a final deal from being reached. An Intel spokesperson responded to Reuters stating, "We strongly disagree with the characterization, but are not going to comment about any current or potential customer conversations. We have a very healthy customer pipeline across both our product and foundry business, and we are squarely focused on innovating to meet their needs." Meanwhile, Sony, Broadcom, and AMD all declined to comment on the matter themselves. So it was only Intel that was like, yeah, we got snubbed, but we're fine. Don't worry about us. We're good. We didn't need Sony anyways. When their stock price and everything else tells you that this was a massive blow to them. But like I said, this console is not expected to launch until at least 2028. If you remember that back when those documents leaked during the ongoing court battle with Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, Sony was not expected to launch its next-gen console until that time. So all of this aligns with Sony's strategy to maintain a long-term support for the PlayStation 5 while also looking to the future with a PlayStation 6. And honestly, the way gaming is going, I'm not even excited about the PlayStation 6. I don't like them taking away the physical hard drives. I don't like the games going away. I don't like the lack of first-party titles and the original unique exclusive titles that Sony was once really known for. I mean, yeah, they still make them, but it seems like few and far between these days for actual exclusives that are system sellers for reasons why you want to go out of your way for them. Pair that with how Sony is now selling a lot of those a year or two after release on PC anyways, it gives you even less of a reason to care what Sony's even doing. That's why I look at someone like Nintendo and I'm like, yeah, as much as you want to hate on Nintendo, they're kind of doing it right, where they're just doing their own thing. And if you want to participate and buy into Nintendo's ecosystem, you got to do that. Otherwise, you can't participate. And in a weird way, it's working for them. and Sony might learn a lesson or two from it. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you guys want more information, check out smashjt.com for the full article. If you appreciate what I'm doing, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing. Smash,